beautiful day, Patriots. How are you? So we're going to continue studying our building of this incredible building and the coincidences as they just keep getting bigger and bigger. Now, this might not seem very coincidental to others. Maybe it's just personal for me. Now, but, we have to ask ourselves stuff. This is, because this is weird. This infatuation of them constantly digging up bones and looking for bones and then identifying the bones and then moving the bones over to here and then make big old, burials. And it's weird. They sometimes are in huge places and then sometimes just lined up bones up against the wall. It's just weird. The infatuations of digging up the dead. Right? I mean, it's constantly happening within, and especially within these stories. And so when we do the King Arthur, where we were talking when they found King Arthur's bones, this was in his grave, this cross, talking about the renowned King Arthur. And when we go and further down here, they talk about, in very colorful detail, of where they found the huge coffin, a hollow oak, a wood coffin. Thousands of years later, they find it, and these things can and do happen. And they found with the bones of a man, his skull bearing 10 wounds, 9 of which showed signs of healing. So 1,000+ years later, they find his bones, and they're in good enough conditions to be able to, do studies with it. Her hair had trusses of beautiful hair in perfect form and color, which when being touched fell to pieces. It just disintegrated. And then they found the last of the remains, and they removed them to the chapel, to the great church, and later moved to the middle of, so they're constantly moving these bones again and stuff. Now, again, King Arthur was in the 4th and 5th century, and we're in the 21st century. So it's 15,000 years ago. And his bones were found just, a couple hundred years ago. And it goes even earlier because they kept moving them. Let me ask you something. How many bones just are able to survive, like animal bones and human bones? They have studies where they take cadavers, throw them out in the field, and then they study how long things decompose so that they can investigate crimes. We know exactly how long bones last, especially in an oak tomb, in an oak coffin. So, I get it. It's no big deal. But now here's where he's now buried. King Arthur. Here lies King Arthur. Site of King Arthur's tomb. Wasn't just the scribes, the ones that erased him from history. It appears even the people in current history are erasing him. If this man is so big in English lore, this is where he's buried, and this is the tomb. Maybe there's more around it that we can't see in the picture. Yeah? So let's continue on this. Now, claim King Arthur's body, but also be associated with the site where Arthur is reported to have given up his famous sword Excalibur. And like I said, we could read things down, but this is all tying in to, Jesus, the church, the persecution, America, because we fled from this place. And it goes down and talks about some things. And what is really, and maybe you guys already know all these things, and maybe I did before and don't know now, or didn't know or didn't care. Whatever the case is, this is where we're at right now. But perhaps the strongest link is found in the pedigree of Arthur. His direct descent from Joseph. Joseph, Jesus' father. The genealogy of King Arthur is given by the historian John of Glastonbury. He lists Arthur as the 10th descendant from Saint Joseph. I just can't read that name very well. Armithia. The following pedigree is taken from John's manuscript, and it goes down and gives the names of his he did one of those one of those blood tests you send in the mail. And in this book here, talking about all this, if, as it can be believed, Joseph brought the cup used at the Last Supper with him, and he came to Britain. Joseph is Jesus' father, brought Jesus' cup from the Last Supper with him to Britain. And this would have been an important, tremendous. Here would be a relic sanctified by the centuries in Britain and by the rights of descent belonging to Arthur. It could have been used as a symbol of Arthur's power to represent the Christian unity of Britain, overriding both the authority of the regional kings and the opposing forces which Arthur could barely hold in check. Barely, but he did, it says here, huh? And so all the knights, it's saying here, were also descended from Joseph. These were his, would be his great grandkids, I guess, or further, 10 generations are saying. And Joseph would explain the curiosity and startling discretions concerning King David and King Solomon. And Judas, not Iscariot, but a different Judas. So, it's really amazing how King Arthur, it's just mind-boggling. Absolutely mind-boggling. We've got the cup of the Last Supper, but what I want to show you is this now. I believe we've been looking at the pictures from a different angle, but here it is again. Now I want to show you something. It's right here in our face, and people won't talk about this. Here is the capstone, and this is very important to have these here to hold the weight from the top, and the weight from the top gets dispersed, and all these hold itself. It's all geometry, it's all just math, because you have to have it designed a certain way so that the weight of the beams and these columns don't get pushed out, but you have to have just enough arch on it so that the weight doesn't just fall out. Okay, supposedly if you put 2 more stones on this, just exaggerating, that it could be too much and then the whole thing crumbles. Okay, so they've gotten the maximum out of the design of these big, huge stones because it is so heavy. Just imagine that, the weight of this. Now, it's in ruins, but let's look at something right here that's right there in our face. You mean just a little facade thing fell off? You mean those are just tiles with rubble behind it? You mean the walls are rubble with just tile over it? No, look from a distance. Read your history, read your story, know your history, or you will get an F in class. Know your story. Do not. You know why I got kicked out of school all the time? You know why I didn't like school? You know why everybody thought I was stupid? Because I wouldn't say what they wanted me to say. I said, I hear what you're saying, and I'm getting what you're saying because I want to learn so bad. But what you're telling me doesn't seem to make sense. Because you say these are big, heavy blocks, but I can see with my own eyes that that's not true. Greg, you get an F. You're out of here. Just like Q. You do not know what you're talking about. You must stay anonymous and follow blindly anonymous sources. There is no outside communications. You're absolutely correct. Just like the Church of Jesus Christ, it's inside.